Good morning, everybody. It's a bit of a grey morning here at my place, but I thought I'd take you through a couple of things because of a few things I've noticed online and a few conversations that I've had recently. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is you're coming on a tour with me. We're about to leave one of our campsites in, say, an hour or so, half an hour, something like that. Just before we leave, you're going to do something that's really, really important for remote area tours or for remote area travel. You're going to do what I call a DI. A DI is a daily inspection on your car. Yes, daily. So before you drive anywhere, what you're going to do is you're going to get down underneath, or not underneath, but you're going to get down so you can see underneath your car, and you're going to look to see is there anything hanging down there, bits of stick, things that shouldn't be hanging down, wire, cables, anything like that. You're also going to look, remember we'll be in the desert, you're going to look at the ground and you're going to say to yourself, ask yourself, are there any oil, fluids, anything like that sitting on the ground under this car? That could indicate a problem. So that's the very first thing you do. And then the rest of the walk around is going to be basically start at the pointy end of the car and finish at the pointy end of the car, alternating between big picture, does everything look okay, looking from a distance, is anything falling off, is anything obvious. And you can do that big picture walk around without doing any detail as part of your check, or you can do it first of all. Let's just go around and have a big picture look and see if we can spot anything obvious, right? And then we're going to go down into the detail. I'll save the under bonnet check for last. Let's go have a look at what typically goes wrong. So I'm not going to do under the bonnet just now, but if you've got a bull bar, I'd like $1 for every bull bar that's fallen off. Grab hold of it, give it a shake. Come around to your tyres. Do they look okay? Is there any, cracks in the sidewall, damage to the sidewall? Is the tread okay? Is there anything stuck in the tread? Alright. The wheel nuts look like they're tight. Yes, I know I do have to refinish my wheels. Grab your top of your wheel, give it a pull towards you. The wheel bearing's good. Is there a clunk? Anything like that? If you want to, you can have gloves on to do this. Just give the wheel a good hard tug with both hands and see if you hear a clunk or there's a bit of slop, a bit of movement. Alright, as we go around, we're going to make sure our boards aren't falling off, our glass is intact, everything else is okay. I'm going to do the same thing with the rear tyre. I won't bother showing you. Check the wheel nuts, give it a tug, make sure it's all okay. Anything in the suspension area, I can see bits of the suspension down in here. Nothing looks out of place. No obvious shiny patches. No things hanging down. Right? Tow bar's not falling out. Pin's still in place. Rear tyre's not going to fall off. HF antenna's not going to fall off. Glass is intact. We'll check all the lights as a separate piece. Alright, I've got lots of caterpillars on my tyres this morning. Alright, we're going to check exhaust pipe on this side and check the suspension components under there. Grab the wheel, give it a tug, nothing happening. Running board's good. Roof rack, is the roof rack going to fall off? Give it a good hard tug. Is everything secure on the roof rack? Antenna's intact. Alright, wipers in good condition, mine are very dirty. Windscreen clean. Right, now let's come under the bonnet. Let's have a look under the bonnet here. Okay, lots of things under here and you might go, oh, I don't even know what I'm looking at. Well, let's give you a little bit of help. First thing you want to do is just stand here and have a good look. Does anything look like it's loose? So if things come loose, they'll leave a shiny patch where they've been rubbing, and you can often see that. So just look around. Anything obvious, anything hanging down, anything look out of place, any fluids anywhere, any oil stains or anything like that. Any coolant It's not in the bottle leaking out of hoses anywhere. Nothing. Alright, so once we've had a good look around, then we're going to use a mnemonic. And a mnemonic is the word power. P-O-W-E-R and the letter A. Right? So power A. And P stands for petrol, although in this case it's diesel. O stands for oil. W stands for water. E stands for electrics. R stands for rubber. And A stands for air cleaner. So what do we need to know about petrol? Do I have enough to get where I'm going? Have I been monitoring my petrol usage? Alright. Do I also understand that with a diesel vehicle, if I run it out of petrol and I fill the tank again, that it's not going to go? Okay. Diesel engines have what's called an injector pump, and the injector pump's job is down here. The injector pump's job is to inject the fuel into the engine at pressure. It's not to lift the fuel from the tank. There's no electric lift pump, there's no mechanical lift pump, there's a manual lift pump, right? In other words, you have to get the diesel up to that pump there manually by hand if you run the car out of diesel. And the way that you do that is right here. This thing is the fuel filter. See two hoses coming into it. Typically looks like this, metal or plastic these days. And on top of it is a button. That button is a pump. And you can give it CPR by pumping that a couple of 100 times. And you should get fuel pressure, and the button will no longer go up and down. So once you've got that, then you might have fuel up to the pump and the car might start, or you might have to pump it a few more times yet. So that's P for petrol. O is for oil. I'm sure we all know how to check the oil. You've got to pull the dipstick out, right? You've got to give it a wipe. Then you've got to make sure that the oil level is between the two dots, and preferably at the top dot. Now bear in mind, this dipstick doesn't measure all of the oil, it just measures about the last litre. So just be aware of that. Also, if you're like me and you've got an auxiliary battery near your dipstick, don't bend the dipstick and make it hit that terminal, because it'll cut the dipstick in half. Okay, so there's our oil checked, although I didn't wipe the dipstick. The car has been sitting for a very long time, so I didn't really need to. So petrol, oil. Other oil that we're looking at is the power steering fluid. Does it look okay? Is anything leaking out of it? If you want to, you can check the level. You don't have to be very technical about this. Is there some oil up on the dipstick? There are hot and cold marks on this. For the purposes of remote travel, we're really just interested, have I got stacks of oil in there? Right. So that's our power steering fluid. So petrol, oil, water. There are two types of water, if you like, in this car. There's the coolant for the radiator that I've already mentioned, and there's a washer bottle. Please keep your washer bottle full. It's really, really useful if you get splash of mud on the windscreen. And in fact, your car isn't roadworthy unless that's full. So keep that full of water. Also, your coolant, make sure that your coolant is at the level that it's supposed to be, which there are marks on the side of the bottle. In an emergency, if you haven't got any coolant, then you can put water in there, but be sure to replace it with coolant as soon as you possibly can, and make sure it's the correct coolant for your car. Alright, so petrol, oil, water. E for electrics. The main thing to check is that your battery terminals are secure and not corroded, and that your batteries don't move when you tug on them. Alright, and then you can also check your lights to make sure they work, particularly if you're towing a trailer and you're on the road. Not so important out in the desert, obviously. So, petrol, oil, water, electrics, rubber. The main things are the hoses and the belts. So, here's the top radiator hose. Does it feel okay? Is it crunchy? Is it way too soft? You'll get to know, get used to feeling it every day, and then you'll know what it feels like. There's a bottom radiator hose, almost impossible to get at on modern cars unless you want to crawl underneath, but you can have a look at it in some cars. And then there's the belts, and this car uses individual belts, right? and they are multiple belts on multiple pulleys, and you really should carry spares. Alright. Most cars nowadays though use a different system. They use what's called a serpentine belt. A little more difficult to fit, but you really should carry a spare because your car will not operate if you break that belt. So carry it, because I might be able to replace it even if you can't. So it's a good idea to carry that serpentine belt. And your hoses. Take your old hoses off, get new ones fitted, keep your old ones. That's the way I would do it. Same with the belts. Replace the belts, keep the old ones. Unless they're completely stuffed, shall we say. So petrol, oil, water, electrics, rubber. The last one is air. You should learn how to replace your air cleaner. A mechanic's going to charge you for doing it, and it's a simple job that you can do yourself. Just get inside there, pull that filter out, replace it. Alright? Need to be done every 5,000 k's if you're driving in the desert country. So why pay $60 or $70 to have somebody replace it when you can undo a couple of clips and replace it yourself? So there you go. That's the pre-departure check or daily inspection of your vehicle. If I don't see your bonnet up on one of my tours in the morning, I don't see you walking around your car, I'm going to come and lift your bonnet, alright, and I'm going to have a look myself. And if you don't know what you're looking at and you need a little bit of advice and you're on tour with me, just come find me in the morning. Make sure it's not too close to when we're departing, when everybody's really busy, and say, hey, can you come and have a look at this for me, please? I'm not sure that everything's okay. Do one last walk around, and what I also do is when I depart my camp, I leave and I turn around and come back over the place where I was parked, usually on my driver's side, looking at the ground to see if there's anything on the ground that I left behind, or if there's any oil or water or fluids or anything laying on the ground. So there you go. There's a little bit of a check that you can do to make sure that your vehicle is ready to travel each day. We have had numerous instances where people have done this, sometimes in the middle of the day. They've done one in the morning, they do it again in the middle of the day, and they find a problem, and we were able to fix it before we got into any trouble. So really worth learning how to do that. If you don't know how and you live around the Sydney Hunter Valley region, I do have four-wheel drive courses going. I do have bush mechanic courses going. Get yourself booked into one of those. The horse has come to check out the car as well. Catch you later.